I'll give you the.
Excuse me, it's time.
It is time. Okay, we call up Sandy, Sandy, Sandy. Come forth, come forth, come forth. Page 558. Usher responsibly. And it's interesting, the melody, the nusach for Shabbat afternoon has got its own flavor. It's a little minor key, it's a little sad, it's a little Shabbat is leaving and we're saying goodbye, we're sorry to see it go. So it has that kind of flavor and taste. Mrs. Pomerantz, Shabbat Shalom, can you hear us?
Their audio doesn't seem to be set up, or they don't have a microphone.
Okay.
So they may be able to hear us, but we may not. But they may not be able to communicate. So
okay. So would you ask him to maybe write in the chat the name and the yahrzeit so I can make a memorial?
Sure, I will. I will send a chat message.
Okay. So get ready, set, go. 558. Ashrei responsibly.
A responder? Susan, will you be my responder?
Sure.
Ashrei yoshvei vetecha od yalu chasela.
Ashrayam shekachalo, Ashrayam sharanai Elohav.
Rola David, arumimcho hayamelech, vavarchashim chalil vaed.
V'chol yom avrochecha, balashim chol olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Yimlo me'od, v'ligdolato ein cheker.
Dur l'joy shabach ma'asecha, gevurotecha yagidu.
Adar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Zuz nerotecha yomeru, v'ratecha sapru.
Zecha rav tivcha yabiyu, v'tzikatcha yiranenu.
Kanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim u'gdol chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kavod malchutcha yomeru, gvuratecha yedaberu.
V'hodia livnei Adam gevurata, v'chvod adar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, memshatecha b'chol dor v'dor.
Yomech Adonai l'cho anoflim, v'zokef l'cho akafufim.
Einei chalilecha yisaberu, v'atanoten lehem et achlam bito.
Oteach et yodecha, masbir l'cho chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'cho korav, l'cho asher yikru v'emet.
Ritzon Yirei of Yaseh, v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol hava, v'et kol shayim yashmi.
Hilat Adonai yidaber pi, v'varech kol basar shem kachel olam va'ed.
V'anachnu nivarech ya, me'ata v'yad olam hallelujah.
Uval Tzion, Goel Shavei Pesha B'Yaakov, Shem Adonai V'Shem. Korzel Zevi Amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Melech Haaretz Kevodam, Kabundin. Batisani Ruach Meshach. Verachum Yechaper Rabban V'Lo Yashchi, Ve'Bala Shiva Po V'Lo Yerkol Chamato, Ki Atah Adonai. ויפתחו בך ידי שמך, כי לא עזבת דרשך אדוני, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבו, יעמוד בברוך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ובימי חון, חיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. שמי רבו מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרום ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
We rise for Seder Hotzaat HaTorah, page 566, Kimitzion.
כי מציון תצא תורה, דבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמי ישראל, בקדושתו. גדלו אדוני איתי, ונרומם שמו יחדיו.
You may be seated. And together we chant the bracha for the Torah reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
It's very interesting, the word la'asok. It has a connotation that cuts so many different ways. It basically means business-wise. Asakim is the very word for business. And as you can imagine, it has that negative connotation that it does in English. And we say, we consecrate you, God, who has ordered us to be preoccupied with the business of Torah learning and teaching. So, well, anyway, it's meant to be more than a hobby. The Torah portion that we are going to read this afternoon is Parshat Toldot. At this point, Isaac is married, and he's married to Rebekah after a long journey to bring his bride from Ur, because he was not going to get married to one of the local girls. Very nasty connotation there, probably well, richly deserved and earned. And the thing that, excuse me, that drew my attention always and has a sweetness to it. Isaac falls in love with Rebekah, and he brings her into the tent of his mother's tent, Sarah. And it says that at that point, Isaac does fall in love with Rebekah, and he was comforted for the loss of his mother. It's such a profound connection and convergence of different forces of psychology. And as we well know, Isaac and his mother Sarah were deeply connected, because imagine a woman finally having a child at the age of 90, and she had to be watching him at every point and protecting him. And Isaac does have that sense of being overly protected by his mother and needing to experience about the harsh realities of the world. And of course, his father takes him up the mountain to be bound up as an offering. And so here we are. Rebekah cannot conceive. And just one last observation. Rebekah and Isaac really are a team. And Isaac prays that God should give Rebekah offspring, him too. His son Jacob, when Rachel doesn't have children, she comes to Jacob and says, please, I have no children. If I have no children, I'll die. And Jacob explodes in anger. And he says to Rachel, who am I, God, to give you children? And of course, that's not a very nice thing to say. But here, it is different. I'm going to ask Randy Glassman, will you take a look at the second Aliyah, chapter 25, verses 23, 24, 25, and 26. We'll get to it in a moment. And I'm going to ask Sandy to please chant for us the first Aliyah, chapter 25, verse 19.
Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva.
Wait. Isn't it Toldot? No, it's not. It's Vayetze. You're correct, and I'm wrong.
It is Toldot,
It is Toldot, so why are you
as far as I
reading?
know.
Right, Vayetze comes later.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought I made a mistake. I didn't think that Sandy could make a mistake, so I...
Oh, surprise. Today we read
Chaye Sarah.
Sarah.
And after Chaye Sarah comes Toldot.
Vayetze.
No, after Chaye Sarah comes Toldot. After Toldot comes Vayetze. Right, Isaac hasn't had children yet.
It's Toldot.
Okay.
Think about it.
Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. Vayihi Yitzchak ben Arbaim Shana. Bekachto et Rivka. Bat Betuel ha'arami. Mi Padan Aram. Achot. Lavan ha'arami lo leisha. Vayetar Yitzchak l'Adonai l'nochach ishto ki akarahi. Vayeter lo Adonai vatahar Rivka ishto. Vayitrotzutu habanim bekirba. Vatomerim kain lama ze anochi vatelech lidrosh et Adonai.
Beautiful, thank you. Very nicely done. Amazing, amazing. And we have our splendid reader who does the readings with joy and drama. Jeffrey, Sir Jeffrey.
This is the story of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took to wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren, and the Lord responded to his plea, and his wife Rebekah conceived. But the children struggled in her womb, and she said, "If so, why do I exist?" She went to inquire of the Lord.
Beautifully done. The phrase, why do I exist, lama ze anochi, is so just exquisite and wonderful. Dr. Leon, would you, if you want to share with us, you have your side for your mother, correct?
Yes.
Would you share some wonderful memory or lesson you learned, if you'd like?
Well, she worked very hard, and came from Poland, and had two sons, and my brother and I did very well. We were part of the American dream, and and she was really mainly responsible for that. My father worked 10-hour days, 6 days a week. So she really basically brought us up.
Yeah, beautiful story. How old was your mother when she came to America?
The middle 1930s, so it would have been, she was born in 1907, so I guess she was 28, 30 years old, somewhere in there.
Right. Did she speak or share with you about the difficulty or, obviously the trauma of having to leave a very hostile home? She was from Poland, Russia?
Well, yeah, she was from, they were from Poland. The thing was after, it was right after, she was born in 1907, so it's after World War One. And life was terrible after World War One. There were pogroms and all that other stuff.
Right.
And so she and my father, who were both from Poland but did not know each other at the time, just felt like this isn't going to work out, and bad things are going to happen in Poland. The interesting part for her was that she had friends in the United States, so she would periodically visit with them. And then one day she decided that the United States was a little bit better than Europe, and so she figured, you know what, let's go to the United States as a visitor and not come back. So the interesting part was that she spent 6 years as an illegal alien in the United States. Met my father, and then she marrying my father, she became a citizen. But for 6 years, she was terrified that a policeman would stop her and deport her. That's the story.
Yeah, I just want to share with you that I really empathize with what you're saying. As a child, I remember having to change my name several times, and my mother repeatedly told me, don't say your name until you look at me and you get your directions from me. And to this very day, when I'm asked your license and registration, please, there's just this sense of terror, and I get, and clearly your mother communicated that to you. Did any of the family survive World War II?
Yeah, about half survived and half did not.
Okay, well, there's quite a story there. And I have so many questions, but we've got to get on with it. These stories really need to be told, and just so dramatic. Please tell me your mother's Hebrew name.
Esther.
Esther Bat and her parents.
Esther Bat Eliezer.
Esther Bat Eliezer Chaya. Chaya was her mother's name. Is it Esther Chaya Bat Eliezer?
Esther Bat Eliezer.
And her mother?
No, that was my mother's name. Esther Bat.
No, her mother, your grandmother.
That I don't know.
Okay. How old was she when she died?
My mother?
Yeah.
79.
This is a memorial prayer for an exceptional and extraordinary woman that clearly made some very right choices. המלאכים שוכן במרומים, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אסתר בת אליעזר שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמי מוצאו בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונאמר Amen. Last question. Did you get to meet your grandfather, her parents at all?
Grandfather, yes, not my grandmother.
Okay. Well, one day you'll come and you'll share with us. We'd love to hear. I would love to hear your stories of your family. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. We continue with the next Aliyah, and Randy Glassman would be kind enough to read chapter 25, verse 23.
Through
26, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Vayomer Adonai la shnei goyim bevit nech u'shnei le'umim meimi arich yiparedu ul mil'om ye'emat v'rav ya'avot sa'ir vayim le'u yamehu laletet
וימלאו ימיה.
yameha laletet vehine tomim bevit naha vayetze harishon admodni kulo ke'aderet serar vayikreu shemo Esav ve'acharei chen yatsa achim v'yado ochezet ba'akev Esav vayikra shemo Yaakov vayitzchak ben shishit shana shishim shamna velede otam.
Thank you. I wouldn't dare correct you unless I felt that you were a good reader who could take a
Fine.
prompt and
It's it's the first time I ever read it, so
well, really, Randy, from
I
the
give
time,
myself correction is fine because that means the next time I'll remember it.
yes, and your reading from the time that we met is really improved. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Randy. So Jeff.
And the Lord answered her, two nations are in your womb. Two separate peoples shall issue from your body. One people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. The first one emerged red, like a hairy mantle all over, so they named him Esau. Then his brother emerged, holding on to the heel of Esau, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born.
Okay, pretty amazing. 20 years, and well, we'll find out. Let's see, Howard, you have your site for your.
Yeah, for my brother, Charles.
Would you tell us something about Charles, if you please?
Well, he was my younger brother. He was 15 months younger than me. And he went to a Boy Scout meeting on a bike, and coming home, he was killed in a hit and run accident.
Oh,
But we were, yes, he was like 11 years old.
I'm so sorry. What an awful loss.
But we were good buddies when we were growing up, played games together, and board games, and we were good guys together. But
here's a question, and you don't have to answer, but if you could, I would be insightful. How did your parents overcome? You don't ever overcome, but how did they deal with?
Well, the sad thing, my mother had already passed away, and my father was heartbroken. He had lost his wife. He lost his second son. He was a heartbroken man. And then he lost his life when he was young. He only lived to be 47.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Howard, you did really beautifully well, and I'm sure you felt the obligation to go on. And it was just interesting. I was thinking, Dr. Leon, how so much and so many of us, I have this experience of up and leaving. Abraham left his home, never to go back to that home. Isaac was the only one who was born and stayed his entire life in Canaan. And Jacob up and left for 20 years also. And then he came back and then had to go to Egypt and only came back in a coffin. So this experience of up and leaving and coming and journeying is seems to be our destiny. What is your brother's Hebrew name and the parents?
Arachmiel Moshe ben Mordechai Vasara.
המרחמים שוכן במרומים, המצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת הבחור רחמיאל מוישה בן מרדכי ושרה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אנו ברחמים הסתירה בסתר כנפיך לעולמי מוצאו ביצוע החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום במשכבו ונאמר אמן. I want to thank you, Howard, on my behalf and on behalf of the Minhah for sharing with us such a really tragic story, and that you find the strength to go on that gives us strength. Really, it's wonderful. Thank you, Howard. And,
thank you, Moshe.
And your brother's memory is a blessing, without doubt. We continue with the longest reading, very dramatic. Ruth Ann, if you please, chapter 25, verse 27.
Vayigdalu hana'arim vayehi Esav ish Yodea tzayid ish sadeh v'Yaakov ish tam Yoshev ohalim Vayehav Yitzchak et Esav kitzayid b'fiv v'Rivka ohevet et Yaakov Vayazed Yaakov nasid Vayavel Esav Minhah sadeh v'hu ayef Vayemer Esav el Yaakov Haleiteni na min ha'adam hazeh ki ayef anochi al ken karashmo Edom Vayemer Yaakov Michrachayim Epicharatcha li Vayemer Esav Hinei Anochi holech lamut Velamazeli bechara Vayemer Yaakov Hishav ali kayam Vayishav alo Vayimkor et becharato Yaakov Yaakov Natan le'esav lechem unzid adashim vayochal vayesht vayakam vayelach vayiben esav et habechor vayibes esav et habechorah Vayihi ra'av b'haaretz milvad hara'av harishon asher haya b'mei Abraham vayelech Yitzchak el Avimelech melech Plishtim Gerara vayera elav Adonai vayomer al tered Mitzrayma Shechem b'haaretz asher amar elecha kur ba'aretz hazot v'yehyeh imcha ba'avarchecha ki lecha u'lezarecha etein et kol ha'aratzot ha'el v'hakimoti et hashavua asher nishbati d'Abraham avicha v'hir beiti et zarecha kechokevei hashamayim v'natati lezarecha et kol ha'aratzot ha'el v'hiparchu v'sarecha kol goyei haaretz ekev asher shama Abraham b'koli vayishmor mishmarti mitzvotai chukotai v'torotai.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Jeffrey, please.
When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the outdoors. But Jacob was a mild man who stayed in camp. Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste for game, but Rebekah favored Jacob. Once when Jacob was home cooking a stew, Esau came in from the open, famished. And Esau said to Jacob, "Give me some of that red stuff to gulp down, for I am famished," which is why he was named Edom. Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." And Esau said, "I am at the point of death, so what use is my birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, and he rose and went away. Thus did Esau spurn the birthright. There was a famine in the land aside from the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. The Lord had appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I point out to you. Reside in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. I will assign these lands to you and your heirs, fulfilling the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your heirs as numerous as the stars of the heaven, and assign your heirs all these lands, so that all nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your heirs. Inasmuch as Abraham conveyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my laws, and my teachings."
I'm sorry, on verse 5, did it say convey, did you say? Read again, verse 5.
Obeyed me.
Obeyed me. Right,
I probably said conveyed.
you did. Makes no difference.
Oh, no, it does. Obeyed.
Yes, indeed. Tell me, would you be kind enough to translate for me verse 28, second verse.
Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste for game, but Rebekah favored Jacob.
Okay, now the Hebrew, would you read?
Loved.
What is
Beloved is loved.
Right. Jeffrey, do you see that?
Sure.
Vayahav Yitzchak, is there a difference between favor and love?
Sure.
Why do you think that they chose favor rather than love? It's such a lessening of the drama and the intensity. The point I'm making is that in the Hebrew, it says Isaac loved Esau and Rebekah loved Jacob. The English translation is favored. Isaac favored Esau and Rebekah favored Jacob. It's a fe, me, ne kind of a translation. And the wonderful thing in the Hebrew is, as wherever you read it, is it holds no punches. It really hits with the fullness of emotion, and it makes it so vivid and wonderful and believable, plausible. Anyway, we got to go on, and we will. Does anyone need a prayer for health or memorial? Jeffrey, you couldn't get the Pomerantz.
No, Hannah hasn't responded, but we can assume that whoever she's here for
Her
is dear to
husband,
all of our hearts.
but her husband Lee.
No, Hannah Lee is her name. She was married to
her husband, Dr.
Ron, I believe,
Pomerantz,
Ron Pomerantz.
right.
But he died later in the winter, if I recall.
Okay, well, then you have a much better recollection than I do. Okay, we continue. We continue with the Hallelujah on page 570. Sandy, if you would, please.
B'levado, hodu al eretz v'shamayim, vayarm keren li'amo, tilal l'chol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am karovo, hallelujah.
Bottom of the page.
Omar, Shabbat and Abraham Alfei Yisrael. Omarayu Nukatecha, Atav Aaron Uzecha, Kohanecha Yobeshu Tzedek, V'chasidecha Yiranenu, V'avur David Avdecha, Al Tashev Pnei Moshichecha, Ki lekach tov natati lachem, Torati al ta'azohu. Eitz Chaim hi l'machazikim ba, B'tomcheha me'ushar, Deracheha, Darchei Noam, B'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Amenu, Chadesh Amenu kekedem.
We rise, page 572, Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrachi rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yamechonu v'chayedcho bet Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman karivim ru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yoma v'imru amen.
Bruce, a quick question. When is Havdalah tonight?
5:19.
Yeah, so we'll do the short version. We'll do a Hayacha Kedusha. We begin on the inside back cover in unison through 574 and conclude silently. Thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol Zecher Chasdei Avot U'Mevigo El Ivnei V'neihem L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melchazer Faked Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Mefaked Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Machayim Etim Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Marid HaGashem, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Machayim Etim Rachamim Rabim, Samech Neflim V'Rafeh Chalim, U'Matir Asurim, M'Kayim Emunato, L'Shanei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'Mida Melach, Melch Memitim Chayim Atzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Machayei hametim.
76. Kadeshim Habalam, Shem Shemai V'Shem Adav V'Shmei Marom, טול ינביאך וכעזר זה ואמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמעתי שמות בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו, לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו, לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני, ממקומו, דברי קודשך, כתוב לאמור.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, דברי קודשך, כתוב לאמור.
ברוך אדוני לעולם, מלכייך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, מלכייך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, נצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך הנה מפינו לימור שלי עולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
578. Whenever you're ready, Sandy, we'll continue with Kaddish Shalem on page 596.
יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה,
Amen.
יאמר דברך ירדתי וימליך מלכותי בחייך וימיך ובחיי בית ישראל בגלוי בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לא מאלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשא ברכו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלעות הון ובאות הון דכל ישראל קדם אבוהן דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
עלינו לשבח.
לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נתן השמיים ויעשה משך השם. ויקבלו כולם את עול מלכותך ותמלך עליהם מהרה לעולם ועד, כי המלכות שלך היא עול מעט, תמלך בכבוד. ככתוב בתורתך, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Vayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad.
Thank you, Sandy, for a beautiful, original, and creative evening. It's beautiful. We recall with love those who are very much in our lives and our hearts and inspire us and lead us on the 27th of Cheshvan, Shabbat, November 14th, 2020. Following names are listed in our perpetual memorials at Chizuk Amuno: Arthur Barriston, Florence Berlin, Samuel Brodsky, J. Howard Brown, Philip Feinglass, Anna Glassgold, Isaac Goodman, Harold Miller, Bertie Orman, Reba Raffel, Molly Roman, Hyman Shannock, Lillian Tillis, Lenore Voloshin, and Dr. Leon, is the Yortzeit tonight, tomorrow, or it's today?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Jeffrey, you have the name?
Yes, and you called out Charles Sandbank, Howard's brother?
No, because it's not listed, and Charles Sandbank of blessed memory. Yortzeit and Mourner's Kaddish, page 600. Susan, would you lead us, please, and the Kaddish?
Dal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich machutei. V'chayechonu v'yamechonu v'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'yamru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitdaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudusha barechu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Susan. We now continue with the evening service on page 200. Dr. Miller, would you be kind enough to lead us with the Arvit service on page 200? Please rise.
Vehu rachum yichaper avon velo yashchit v'hir bala shiva po velo yair kol chamato Adonai Oshia Hamelech ya'anenu v'yonkarenu Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed.
May be seated.
El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
V'yavatacha tatzir mimenu leolamim. Baruch Atah Adonai Elohei Amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'yavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol miotecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele Asher Anochi Mitzavacha Hayom Alevavecha Vishinantam Levanecha V'dibarta bam V'shivtecha B'veitecha V'lektecha V'derech Uv'shavtecha Uv'kumecha Ukashartam liot al yadecha V'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'isharecha laya. L'man yirbu yamechem v'yimei b'nechem al ha'adama asher nishba Adonai lavotechem latet lahem ki me'ashamayim al ha'aretz v'yomer Adonai el Moshe lemor Daber b'nei Yisrael v'yomarta alehem v'yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei v'gdehem l'dorotam v'nadnu al tzitzit hakanaf b'til tachelet v'aya lachem l'tzitzit v'ritem oto v'rzachtem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'yasitem otam V'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotoi v'yitem kadoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem. Moshe b'nei Yisrael l'chanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh, no rati lo joseph eleh. Malchutecha ruvanecha pokei hayom lifnei Moshe, ze Elianu v'yamru, Adonai imloch li'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar kipad Adonai et Yaakov, ug'alo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai go'al Yisrael.
Amen.
Ushemor tzeitenu v'oenu l'chaim ul shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai shomer amo Yisrael la'ad.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai le'olam amen v'amen. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi ulamed timloch b'chavod, ki ein ladu melech ela ata, baruch ata Adonai, hamelech b'chvado tamid yimloch aleinu li'olam va'ed, v'al kol ma'asav. Yitkadav v'yikadash shemei rabbah, V'yamad divrach irute, v'yamlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yamechon, v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kari, v'yimru amen. Yeshmi rabba mevorach, v'yalam olam me'amaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shmei dekudesha. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tishbachata v'nechamata, damiran v'yama v'yemeru. Amen.
We begin the Amidah on page 210. Please remember to include the paragraph on top of 212 or 213. It is a Havdalah. It renders the change from Shabbat to Chol Day. Shalom. Shalem, page 222.
Yitkadav v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
V'yamad divrach irute, v'yamlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yamechon, v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kari, v'yimru amen. Yeshmi rabba mevorach, v'olam olam me'amaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shmei dekudesha. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tishbachata v'nechamata, damiran v'yama, v'yimeru. Amen. Tikabad zlaton v'utan, Decha Yisrael Kadamavu Handi Bishmaya V'Yemeru. Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yako Yisrael V'Yemeru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Rama Buya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yako Yisrael V'Yemeru. Amen.
We turn to page 700 for Havdalah. It is the act of consecration to mark the separation of holiness between Shabbat and the weekdays. Also to note that on Tuesday is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which adds another dimension to a celebration. It's interesting that we don't make a bracha for lighting the Havdalah candle. Savri Maranan, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, borei minei v'samim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, borei meorei ha'esh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, ben or lechoshech, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה, ברוך אתה אדוני, המבדיל בין קודש לחול. מבדיל בין קודש לחול, פתותינו ימחול, זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, וכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, הגות תבוך, הגות תבוך, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי, במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו, עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, Please God, bring us a good Geben Shvoch, Mazel, Parnasa, Hatzlocha, and watch over us. Please, please, please watch over us, and let's continue to be safe, careful, and healthy above all, above all. Aleinu 224. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula. Asanu keoye haratzon,
Samanu Kamishbachot Hadama Shelo Samchakenu Kahem V'Gor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam Anachnu Korim U'Nishtachavim U'Modim Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Eloheinu eino demarkeinu v'zodom g'dobet v'yom ha'shabbat olecha.
Kakatuv b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz Bayomahu yeh Adonai echad U'shemo U'shemo echad U'shemo echad.
We recall with love those who are still in our hearts and our lives. in our minds and grace us with their strength and power and vision and example. For the 28th of Cheshvan, Sunday, November 15th, 2020. The following names are listed in our perpetual memorials at Chizuk Amuno: Jonathan Baker, Etta Bloom, Albert Kahn, Lena Cummins, Mamie Davison, Jack Dubin, Frank Fisher, Miriam Glick, Yetta Hammer, Rosalie Jerome, Leo Lamb, Solomon Leboff, Lena Merowitz, Sheila Pekula, Esther Reinstein, Leon Rosenblum, Rose Schuster, Dorothy Semlis, Max Shapiro, Lena Silverstein. Jeffrey, did I miss anyone?
Very good.
Very good. Yortzeit and Mourners Kaddish, page 226. And Randy Glassman, would you please lead us in the Mourners Kaddish, if you're here?
Here we go. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
V'yaman divrak kirite v'yamlik machute. V'chayachon of yemechon. Chaye dekol be Yisrael. V'gala v'zman karim v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach li'elam li'amei amaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yispa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnanseh. V'yisadar v'yisalev v'yisala shmei dekudesha brechu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Damiram b'yama v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shloma rabba mim shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mermav. Uya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Randy. And thank you all. Although Rabbi Zayman would tell me not to thank people for coming to Minyan. It's your honor, your privilege, and your good fortune. Speaking of which, reflecting on how my sense of being in Minyan has changed, I now cannot imagine life without Minyan. And I think we have a couple of people here who would agree with that. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, a reminder that Kislev brings with it the holiday of Hanukkah. And if you can, book one of Maccabees.